he is now a spin doctor. That's what his job is. Glem Greenwald is paid extremely handsomely to be a spin doctor for right-wing figures. That's what he's done. Not directly, by the way. It's not like Alex Jones is like, oh, here you go, Glenn. Here's $10,000 to say a whole bunch of nice things about me. Here's an extra $20,000 if you call me handsome at the start of your show. No, Glenn just does that on his own. That's just like, oh yeah, this is just what I want to do, because he's interested in doing that spin. And then Rumble will be like, we like the things you're saying, Glenn. We really like the things you're saying. Do you want monies? Like a lot of monies? Come on our show. Give us an exclusive show on Rumble. We'd like to hear more of what you're saying. Hey, Glenn, can we do some cross-pollinization? We got Alex Jones and a documentary on him. Do you want to interview him? It's going to be awesome. You can spin the whole thing as you're just a journalist and you want to interview a controversial figure and ask them questions. You can do whatever you want, get in there and you know what to do. You know what to do once you get there. So, I don't know if you all know Kim Iversen. Kim Iversen, of course, was one of the replacement hosts on The Rising by The Hill and has decided to leave the show. And I guess I wanted to find out a little bit more. The last time we were watching Kim Iversen, she was becoming incredibly mad and confused because she didn't understand why she couldn't dead name Elliot Page anymore and why she shouldn't be able to do it at all. And was just getting so mad about that and going in circles over and over and over. Here's an extremely illuminating episode on how liberal corporate media works. When Crystal Ball and Sagar left the Hills Rising, the Hills struggled to find a heterodox anti-establishment voice equally popular with its audience. They finally found her in Kim Iversen. I mean, fresh off the heels of the whole Alex Jones fluff piece that Glem Greenwald did, where he basically tried to rehabilitate his entire image, this doesn't surprise me. If you want to know what Glenn means by, anti-establishment, voices that are thinking outside the box, not part of the corporate paradigm, it always means right-winger. It seems to be, and it's just like, okay, so are liberals considered anti-establishment if they call out Fox News when Republicans are in power, or if those companies are owned by conservatives or right-wingers, or how does that work? When is it just like anti-establishment for me or not for thee? Kim became extremely popular amongst rising viewers. She developed a loyal audience size vastly larger than 95% of employees at large liberal media corporate have. That's because she does what they won't, questions rather than slavishly parrots official orthodoxy. So, as happens whenever an independent journalist finds success while not part of their clique, one they can't control, liberal tabloids like the Daily Beast began writing jealous, envious hit pieces on her with their standard insults of expulsion. Insults of expulsion. Yesterday, Kim announced that she had left The Rising. Well, actually, hold on. Let's do a little research here in real time. Let's see what the Daily Beast had to say. Kim Iversen, a co-host of The Hill's popular web program Rising, and whom some colleagues have branded a conspiracy theorist, announced on Tuesday afternoon that she is no longer with the show. Her sudden departure comes just the day after the vocal vaccine skeptic publicly roused a recent Rising episode featuring Chief White House Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci, adding what she wanted to be part of this interview, and it was a shame that I wasn't able to be there and get all the answers we deserve. Iversen did not respond to a request for comment, and why? Are you getting 1984 here? And a representative for Nexstar, the parent company of The Hill, declined to comment when asked about her abrupt exit. Iversen has been a fierce critic of Fauci, vaccine requirements, and COVID-19 mitigation efforts. On Monday, she took to Twitter to voice displeasure over not hosting that morning's Rising. Instead, frequent host Robbie Swav of Newsweek, deputy opinion editor Batya Ungar-Sargon conducted a 20-minute interview with Fauci. Responding to a clip from the show's official Twitter account, in which Fauci said he's been on the record about the desire to keep schools open during the pandemic, Iversen sarcastically tweeted, "Where's Kim? Good question." Oh, the royal we, speaking in the third person. I love it. Kim's got a question. Where's Kim? Sounds like a good name for a new show. Oops. After a fan wondered who at The Rising thought it was a good move not to have Iversen host that segment, she replied, "Good question." She later shared the Fauci clip again, this time specifically declaring she wanted to participate in the interview and seemingly chastising her own colleagues for not getting the answers we all deserve. When another follower tweeted, "Tell us why," Iversen cryptically responded, "You'll know soon enough. Kim will speak when Kim is ready." Then on Tuesday afternoon, Iversen revealed that her time with the popular and at times controversial online show was over. I'm no longer on Hills TV Rising. Stay tuned for an update on my independent, uncensored channel here, she tweeted, with a link to her personal YouTube page. Fun. I'm no longer with the Hills Rising, Iverson wrote on social media. I can't get into the details just yet, but hopefully by the end of the week, what I can say is I prepared to be on yesterday, but wasn't. I'll post on my channel the details when I can share them. Even prior to her abrupt departure, Iverson's tenure with the long-running digital program has been marked by controversy and internet turmoil. The self-branded Tell Like No BS broadcaster has already ruffled members among the Hill colleagues when she spoke at an anti-vax Defeat the Mandates rally and then gushed about it on the show. Aside from her COVID-19 vaccine skepticism, she also sparked complaints from Hill employees after she defended the Chinese government harsh treatment of Uyghurs, prompting co-host Frank Kim to push back on air and seemed to peddle pro-Russia propaganda about Ukraine. Kim is a conspiracy theorist, a senior staffer said earlier this year to the Daily Beast media. I think she's really bad news. She had expressed serious concerns. At the time, Iverson said her colleagues' feeling wasn't a secret, telling Confider that everyone has witnessed the disdain on air and that she was aware of the winning management. And having repeatedly portrayed herself as a free speech absolutist, Iverson recently got in a back and forth with fellow Rising co-host Olami Ulurin over dead naming actor Elliot Page. The conversation centered around conservative podcaster Jordan Peterson's Twitter suspension. After Ulurin chastised Iverson and Suave for defending those who deliberately refer to trans people by their former names and genders, saying it doesn't cost us anything to simply respect people's personhood, Iverson fired back on Twitter. The point is whether or not you're allowed to say certain things, she tweeted. You can call Muhammad Ali Cassius Clay and not be banned from Twitter or lose your job. Why should trans receive special treatment because they choose to change their names versus others who choose to change theirs? It was explained to you so many times on that show. You didn't listen. Kim didn't listen. And by the way, you're allowed. You can say whatever you want, whenever you want. You're not free of consequence. You're also not free of these private corporations, these companies under good old tasty, delicious capitalism, to not make executive decisions that they don't want. That's another thing that happens. Do you want more worker power? Would you like to be a co-owner in the actual news broadcasting program? It's not 100% official, she claimed. The ink is not dry on the contract, but the contract is, I believe, finished. I think we've got a final version of it on our hands, and I believe that deal will be done this week. So, then I would be able to make an official announcement, but of course, anything can change. Like suddenly in the next few days this week, we can't decide. Nah, never mind. Looks like they decided to go with never mind. So, back to Glenn's coverage of this. So, as happens whenever an independent journalist finds success while not part of their clique, one they can't control, liberal tabloids like the Daily Beast begin running jealous, envious hit pieces in her with their standard insults of expulsion. Yesterday, Kim announced that she had left the Rising, in part because they wouldn't let her interview Dr. Fauci. She's been very skeptical about COVID orthodoxies. Skeptical about COVID orthodoxies, he says. That's how Glenn is wording this. Yeah, this is all with intent, by the way, that like we have gone so far past the thing, like, I don't know if Glenn is really aware. Maybe he hasn't actually done his research on this. No, he knows what he is now a spin doctor. That's what his job is. Glem Greenwald is paid extremely handsomely to be a spin doctor for right-wing figures. That's what he's done. Not directly, by the way. It's not like Alex Jones is like, oh, here you go, Glenn. Here's $10,000 to say a whole bunch of nice things about me. Here's an extra $20,000 if you call me handsome at the start of your show. No, Glenn just does that on his own. That's just like, oh yeah, this is just what I want to do because he's interested in doing that spin. And then Rumble will be like, we like the things you're saying, Glenn. We really like the things you're saying. Do you want monies? Like a lot of monies? Come on our show. Give us an exclusive show on Rumble. We'd like to hear more of what you're saying. Hey, Glenn, can we do some cross-pollinization? We got Alex Jones and a documentary on him. Do you want to interview him? It's going to be awesome. You can spin the whole thing as you're just a journalist and you want to interview a controversial figure and ask them questions. You can do whatever you want, get in there and you know what to do. You know what to do once you get there. But anyways, COVID orthodoxies. She's skeptical. I mean, she's not an anti-vaxxer. She's not speaking at anti-mandate rallies, anything like that. She's just asking questions. She's skeptical, Otherwise, what? Do you all believe in groupthink? Are we supposed to be a whole bunch of sheeple who all collectively do something together? I don't know if Fauci or Hill management banned it, but she did the only respectable thing. Quit. He's going full conspiracy theory here. You hang out with Alex Jones one time. I don't know if Fauci or Hill management banned it, but she did the only respectable thing. Quit. I mean, again, I'm not a journalist like Glem, and I haven't worked at newspapers, so I cannot speak to this. I don't know, and maybe someone who has can tell me. Are you, when you're working for a newspaper or a TV show or anything, are you allowed to do whatever you want? Is that how, can you just at a whim be like, hey, I want to do this. I demand it. I want this thing now. Kim wants to do what Kim wants. I want this now. And then they have to be like, yes. Because if we say no, or if we refuse you from doing or saying whatever you want in our private corporation that we make money from, we generate a profit with this company, we would be in the wrong. It would be a terrible out. We're not going to do that. No, you can have whatever you want, Kim. Kim gets what Kim wants, you know? Liberal employees and media corporates hate nothing more than independent voices who have a large, trusting audience, even while refusing to submit to their corporate constraints. They are so petty and envious. It's what drives them craziest. This is who they hate most. Rogan. Rogan is owned by the largest music streaming platform on the internet. It is a massive, monstrous corporation. It's one of the biggest ones in its field. They censor Joe Rogan when they don't like the things he says. They have cut out episodes of his show from their streaming service because they have the power to do that when they want, because they own the show. A prototypical, sad sack, envy-driven loser. What the hell? For these media corporations. His name is Justin Barangona. Immediately published a hit piece on Kim again. It had receipts, by the way. We're going to go to those next. With their all go-to insults for anyone not in line. Conspiracy theorist. Russian propagandist. But note what happened. Kim's response to this tabloid hit piece was widely circulated by her loyal following. But the Daily Beast has so little audience, and their enforcer of liberal pieties has none. So virtually nobody even noticed the shit they published. If only they knew how irrelevant they are when they call people like me conspiracy theorists and Russian propagandists. Guess what, the Daily Beast? The vaccines won't stop the spread, don't stop the spread, and Ukraine should negotiate peace rather than be completely destroyed. Conspiracy. I can't stress enough how important this dynamic is to their behavior. These liberal media corporations, by the way, I'm gonna guess this second one was not your take. I'm gonna guess this was not your take. I'm gonna guess you said something a little spicier than this one. I can't stress enough how important this dynamic is to their behavior. These liberal media corporations know the public hates them and they have no following. All they have left is uniting on social media to attack those they resent and envy. That's it. This is corporate liberal journalism in one tweet. So it appears that Tucker's producers added googly eyes to AOC in this image. I should add that the interview of Fauci, which Rising did, is well worth watching. Both the two people subjected him to questions far more skeptical and adversarial than he's faced in most others, but Kim's critiques are different. So you still kind of got what you want, but, you know. Anyways, I'm sure that Kim Iversen will be on Joe Rogan as well as Tim Pool in the next couple of days, do the entire circuit, and then launch her own, I'm sure, independent career. I'm sure it'll all go great. Oh, she's already got 365,000 subs. It's going to be fine. Kim's birthday bash. It's the last one. That was 3 months ago. The Hills Rising suspended from YouTube for a week. CDC hides booster data for 18 to 49 to avoid hesitancy. UVA Health announces ivermectin. What? It's the fourth one to start. Cites signs of effectiveness. Oh, Glenn. Of course. Of course. Cites signs of effectiveness. You're never too far from the paste, you know? You're only 1 or 2 clicks away from the fucking goo. Like, every time. It's like the 6 degrees of goo. All right, so what is Kim Iversen saying recently about vaccination? An unvaccinated person caught polio from a vaccinated person who was only contagious and shedding the virus because they took the polio vaccine. You can't make this shit up. Polio vaccines mass-causing polio, people. It's in Revelations, and it's here. It's happening. The article says this could have been prevented if the unvaccinated person was vaccinated. Or how about this? If the shedding person hadn't gotten the vaccine, the unvaccinated person wouldn't have caught polio. You fools! To be clear, I mean, you know, and under the advice of lawyers, I'm not advocating for people not to get the polio vaccine. I should hope not. God damn. I think most of us already have been vaccinated in childhood. But facts are facts, and the vaccine did cause the polio outbreak. Facts are facts, everyone. Okay, let's check it out. New York State reported Thursday that it had detected a case of vaccine-derived polio in an unvaccinated adult in Rockland County, north of New York City, the first such case in the United States since 2013. The unidentified individual developed paralysis, said Beth Kefalu, Rockland County's Director of Strategic Communications. Polio paralysis is irreversible. The area where the case was detected was at the epicenter of a large measles outbreak in 2018-2019, which was fueled by low vaccination rates amongst communities of Hasidic Jews. The outbreak went on for so long that the country almost lost its measles-free status. The memory of that episode is provoking concern that this area might be ripe for an additional vaccine-derived polio cases to occur. I think it's concerning because it can spread, says Walter Ornstein, a polio expert at Emory University. If there are unvaccinated communities, it can cause a polio outbreak. The inactivated polio vaccine we have is very effective and very safe and could have prevented this. We need to restore confidence in vaccines. Now, let's just say that one more time. It is 100% factually accurate that if this individual had taken the IPV, which is what we've been using for a very long time now to eliminate and eradicate polio, it's why a lot of people were injected at childhood with this, this would not have happened. That is 100 factually true. This is doing very, very, I would say methodical fear-mongering about vaccines to make people scared of vaccines, to make people think of that idea that vaccines give you the thing that you're being vaccinated against in its raw form. It's like, well, we're injecting you with like a dead version of a virus. Do you know how dangerous that is? We're just giving people the virus? That's what we're doing? They're injecting you with the virus itself? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said in a statement that while the risk is low for people who are vaccinated, there is a risk for those who have not had the recommended 3 doses of the injectable polio vaccine. Most of the U.S. population has protection against polio because they were vaccinated during childhood, but in some communities with low vaccine coverage, there are unvaccinated people at risk. Polio and its neurological effects cannot be cured. They can be prevented through vaccination. The New York State Department of Health has said in a statement that the person was infected with a type 2 vaccine-derived polio virus, which would have come from the oral polio vaccine used in a number of countries, but not in the United States. The U.S. stopped using oral polio vaccine in 2000. Still a few sold stat, with the case being investigated, but it is believed that the individual had not recently traveled outside of the country to a place where type 2 vaccine-derived polio viruses are spreading. If that is the case, that would indicate someone else inadvertently imported the virus, suggesting there may be additional undetected transmissions. Only a small portion of people affected with the polio virus will go on to be paralyzed. Kim left this part out, which is pretty fucking crucial, by the way. Kimberly Thompson, a polio expert who's president of the nonprofit organization Kid Risk, says it's not a surprise to see a vaccine-derived case pop up in the country, noting public health authorities in the United Kingdom recently discovered vaccine-derived polio viruses in sewage in London, indicating there's some transmission there. With COVID having disrupting immunization, even in the US, and travel now having resumed, and much more type 2 polio virus transmissions happening, it's only a matter of time before we'd have some detection of polio viruses in sewage, as it happened recently in the UK, or more tragically a case, there's just a lot more polio going around than there should be. The oral vaccine contains live but weakened polio viruses, which immunized children excrete in their stool. In places where hygiene is poor, these viruses can spread from child to child, immunizing others as they do. But as they spread, the vaccine viruses can regain the power to paralyze. Such cases are called vaccine-derived polio. Kim, scroll down. It's halfway through the article. It's right here. This would have explained what's going on. You don't have to do the fear-mongering. The United States uses injectable polio vaccine that contains killed viruses to teach the immune system to recognize and fight off polio. It cannot cause paralysis. It's safe, effective. We've been using it for a very long time. Getting people scared about vaccines now. What are they going to think about the one that is completely safe for them to use, that they should use if they don't want to contract polio later in life? What she is doing here is effectively going to result in more people potentially getting polio. It's a very dangerous line of rhetoric because you see it on its surface and it sounds like, oh shit, what? Polio vaccine causes polio? Oh God. Well, I'm not taking any more vaccines. They've been lying to us the entire time. Fuck them all. I knew it. Everyone who's been telling me for the longest time that if I get a vaccine for COVID, I'm actually going to get COVID, maybe super COVID, maybe 5G magnetism. Fuck, they were all right. Apparently it rewrites your entire DNA. It turns you into a different species. Look at this. God damn. Mary Bassett, the New York State Health Commissioner, said people who are vaccinated against polio do not face a risk from the newly discovered case, but children who are not immunized against the virus should receive the vaccine. Based on what we know about this case and polio in general, the Department of Health strongly recommends that unvaccinated individuals get vaccinated or boosted with the FDA-approved IPV polio vaccine as soon as possible. Rockland County will host vaccine clinics on Friday and Monday, the department statement said. The United States used upwards of 20,000 paralytic polio cases a year in the early mid-1950s. Ornstein said, recalling a 7-year-old in 1955, he was reluctant to be vaccinated from the Salk polio vaccine. The injected form was released. My mother said to me, better you should cry than I should cry. Now, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I would recommend H. Bomber Guy's incredible video on vaccine skepticism. It's very well researched. It goes into the history of it, but it also shows you how incredibly effective what Kim Iversen is doing here can be, because people believe these kind of narratives so fast. So fast. You start telling parents that their kids could get autism if they get vaccinated, and suddenly all these parents freak the fuck out. All of them just take that at face value, which is really fucked up and ableist, by the way, to label this as something like, hey, don't do this because you could become like these people. You don't want to become like these people. On top of which, it's not true. It was all a lie. 'Twas a ruse. The whole thing was made up, but people still believe that shit today. People like liberals, like suburban mums who are like very hippie in a lot of other ways. Like, oh yeah, I believe in tinctures and crystal skulls and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, yeah, I don't want to put potentially, damaging vaccines in my kid's blood. So why would I do this? It's so fucked up and backwards. Like, we have come so far. We have come so far from the age where we didn't have or understood the idea behind vaccination, that yes, something as simple as killing a virus and putting that information into your body, and then, making it safe for your body's own immune system to be able to recognize that virus and destroy it when it encounters a real living version of it. That's incredible. And it's saved millions and millions and millions of lives. Why are we regressing? We don't need to do this. You don't need to suddenly piss all over science out of nowhere and say, well, the alternatives could be even better for us. What about that deworming agent that they give to animals, livestock, and humans? They give it to humans as well. Could we use that to potentially destroy this COVID-19 virus? In utero, it's shown some effective promise. Will this work? And then all these studies come out and it's like, no, it does not. It is very dangerous and foolish for us to keep trying to push the idea that this is going to save people's lives or prevent them from catching this disease. But we do have some methods now of preventing you from suffering the worst effects of COVID-19 in a safe vaccination that we can give you, that we've given to millions and millions of people at this point. Ornstein said detecting where the virus in New York came from is critical. That work can be done by comparing to the genetic sequence in the individual's virus with others in the database. The world has been trying to eradicate polio for decades, with 2 of the original 3 types, polio, type 2 and 3, haven't been driven out of existence. Now, I guess I got to do the obligatory because, anytime you talk about this stuff, you'll get the Glem Greenwald crowd saying, well, that's because you're part of the liberal elite, blah, blah, blah. You love big pharma. You want to fillet all of the big pharmacists, all that stuff. Big pharma is really, really fucked up. It sucks. I think you should nationalize big pharma. I think you should have direct control. I don't think there should be a profit motive behind the development of life-saving drugs. We can do it through social programs. There is social systems of medicine. And even in the United States, there is some ones that exist right now where they do research and development, again, for the betterment of society and keeping humanity alive longer and better and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a big fan of big pharma. I think they spend more money on advertising than they do in research and development, and I think they do a lot of fucked up practices, and I think that they have these patents that allow them to maintain complete control over things like vaccinations that would be very valuable to be able to do and give to the entire world right now, creating this weird system of vaccine apartheid where certain countries, poor countries, aren't able to get vaccinated while all these rich countries are able to get completely vaccinated, and it results in the promise of there going to be more mutations in the future, which is fucked up, Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earthhuman, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Egbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.